All right, good morning everyone. In this video, I'm gonna be showing you how to install the Motofab 3-inch front leveling kit along with the Cognito upper control arms with the included ball joints and bushings. I've already tried to make this video, so I'm gonna run through some stuff. I actually just got back home from the dentist, so I'm not gonna be doing a whole lot of talking today. My face is kind of numb, so forgive me for that. I've ran into some snags. I already did the front driver's side and I made some mistakes. I'm gonna have to go back over there and do some things, but I know every single thing that I got to do for the passenger side. So if I could give you one bit of advice, read the instructions thoroughly. If I would have actually read the instructions more inclusive and not just kind of just skip through a bunch of stuff, this would have saved me a lot of trouble. But there was 3 big things that I ran into. I have to say this, the reason that I got the upper control arms is because of the leveling kit. Because I don't care who says what or what company you buy the leveling kit from, you pretty much have to get new upper control arms. The suspension travel is not going to be far enough, and you're going to be hitting the bump stop in the front, and you could tear up your original ball joints. And if you've ever been driving and a ball joint lets go, you understand that that's nothing but a bad time. So I would highly suggest getting new ball joints anyway, but if you're gonna get new ball joints, you might as well get new upper control arms too. It's really not that big of a deal. I made a video, and I'll show some clips here and there, of where I, kind of built up these Cognito upper control arms and put in the ball joints and the bushings and all this stuff and installed the Zerk fittings and whatnot. I read the instructions thoroughly that came with the Cognito stuff. This single sheet is just for the ball joint, and this stapled sheet, this is for the rest of the install for the control arm itself. So when I was reading the instructions, it said, slot the ball joint in from the top and then just bolt it down, 22 foot-pounds of torque. I torqued them, everything was going really well. The problem is, I actually just got off the phone with Cognito. I don't know anything about this kind of stuff. This is not what I do. I'm a car guy. I don't do stuff with trucks. The truck was just kind of this project is going to be more meaningful in the future. And if I haven't said this before, I'll say it now. I'm building up the truck for my second channel on Fralix Arms. If you guys like guns and outdoors and stuff, go check that out. But the reason I'm building it up is a secret, obviously. But if you're on this channel and you're just looking to figure out how to do this, then welcome, I'm glad you're here. Reading the instructions for the ball joint, it says to bolt it in from the top. You can install these control arms if you're running factory suspension. If you're not doing anything else and you just need new ball joints and upper control arms and you like the ball joints that can be bolted in, then sure, this is gonna take care of you and it's gonna work fine. But if you're throwing on a leveling kit, you have to bolt the ball joint up from the bottom. I did not realize that, but like I said, I gave a call to Cognito, and the guy probably thought I was a complete total idiot, which, I don't blame him for that. I just told him that I literally told him, I'm like, just assume I know nothing, okay? And that will get through this a lot easier. So I told him my issues and everything. You're running a leveling kit or a lift or whatever, bolt the ball joint in from the bottom. So we're gonna go ahead and remedy that now, and I gotta do it to the other side, but I'm just gonna show you guys the passenger side. We're gonna walk through everything. This is kind of vloggy. I've had many people tell me that, they wish I'd stop talking and just show them what to do. I'm not a certified mechanic. I am not the owner of Motofab or Cognito. This is more of a vlogging type of channel. That's how it started. That's how it's gonna stay. A lot of people can learn from my mistakes, and if that's not what you're looking for, then go somewhere else. But if you can get some use out of this information that I'm about to share with you, I'm glad you're here. All right, so we're gonna throw this back in. The other one is already on the truck. I'm gonna take care of that thing later. I do like this design a lot better than the press-in ball joints, because if anything ever does happen, then there's no easier type of ball joint to replace. And like I said, I'm gonna reiterate, I'm gonna repeat myself a lot today. So just be prepared for that. If you're running factory suspension all the way around, no leveling kits, no lifts, no nothing, it's all factory like it came from Chevy. Bolted in from the top like I just had it. If not, we're bolting it in from the bottom. I'm gonna do it like this because it's less bolt sticking down, having the majority of the bolt down to the bottom, because then I feel like if the ball joint is going to be like moving and articulating, then it could come into contact with the rest of the threads in the nut. I feel like having less down here and more up here, I mean, there's more space up here, nothing's gonna be there's no interference is what I'm trying to say. So I don't feel like that this is gonna be an issue. I'm not going super hard here, obviously. We still gotta do some torque specs here. So 22 foot-pounds. Got the old trusty Tecton here. This thing is ready to go once again. I feel a lot better about it now that I actually know what I'm doing. Continuing with this install, like I said, I'm going to show you exactly what to do. First step you're going to do is jack up the truck. Throw in our jack stands. And I've already filmed the video of installing the front differential spacer kit that lowers the front differential down. That's a separate video. It's either going to be uploaded before or after this video. Next step, obviously, get the front wheel off. I believe they are 22s. Actually, they're not 22s. 22s fit, but I find that a 7/8 actually works better. The nuts don't get stuck on it as often. And I know what you're thinking about these tires, guys. Don't you worry. New tires are on the way. First thing I want to tackle, a lot of videos will show you where guys like remove the caliper and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that, but the things that we are going to be removing, I'm going to make sure these lines are good and safe and out of the way. Pull up here on these. Just make sure that's out of the way. You don't want to get yourself a 10. Get this little bracket off that holds on the brake line. Get that off. This is no longer required. I'm gonna throw it back in here, but I am gonna pull up on over here, get those out, just give yourself enough slack. That's pretty much what I'm saying here. Now you need to find yourself a 15 millimeter. This is a 15, this is a 15. We're gonna take off the sway bar end link here. So we got a wrench on the top, right there, coming in at the bottom, just like so. There we go. Pull this all the way through. It's a little rusty. These got some rust on them. I'm gonna clean these up and just grease them to make sure they stay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, the structural integrity is still intact. It's just a little grimy. There's no issue there. Let's go with tie rod next. That way we got a little bit more manipulation with everything here. Yep, 21 will work. Got that off. And big hammer, hit the joint where it goes through. Don't actually hit the tie rod itself. So now we can actually move around a little bit, and that gives us better access to our upper ball joint. 18. All right. Same story. Hit where the ball joint goes through here at the top. There it is. Next thing, you're gonna wanna throw your 15 back on. I said this wasn't gonna be like a walkthrough. Sure starting to sound like it. I already pulled one of these off. Obviously you'll have two of them. So you got your lower strut mount bolts here. There's two of them. They're 15s, just come up from underneath, knock those loose. There you go, and then now we should be able to get this out all the way. Perfect. Now, as you can see, there is absolutely no strain on the ABS sensor wire or the brake wire. All the stress is in the axle right now. The axles are pretty strong, but what I may recommend you guys do is just grab yourself a jack stand and just put it underneath the knuckle. So just pick it up here and just maybe throw it on a stud right there. Don't worry, it's gonna be fine. A sway bar end link off, tie rod loose, upper ball joint loose, and lower shock mount loose. I gotta find that other bolt. I'm not sure exactly what I did with it. See, oh, there it is right there. So real quick, I guess we just might as well ought to go ahead and do this. This may not make sense at first, but I promise you it will. Here on this side, on the rearward side of the lower shock mount, these bolts are so dadgum tall that this may not be the case for every single truck, but for me specifically, I ran into this issue, and I think this is a pretty safe, solid solution. Shouldn't hurt anything. And that is that the
axle, since everything is a little bit at more of an extreme angle, it's not too bad with the lowering spacers that I installed on the front diff. Like I said, a video should be out soon, or is out. The top of this bolt, since they bolt from the bottom, was coming in contact with the axle itself and actually resting on it in certain scenarios, if the truck was lifted up off the ground or whatever. And I didn't like that. It was just close enough to where I was like, you know, if I hit kind of a bump or something like that, I don't want this to be grinding into the axle or whatever. So there's two solutions that you can do, but you can either get yourself a new set of nuts and bolts, and then just use this bolt and then find a nut that fits on it, and then just shove it down through this way, like this. If I can demonstrate it, worth a flip. Shove it down through there like that, so that way the top is flush, and then you've got all the excess at the bottom. I've seen people do it. I don't see why that would cause any harm whatsoever. I actually don't even like these things. I mean, you're telling me that this right here is the only thing keeping the lower portion of your shock in place? Seems kind of sketchy, Chevy. I mean, these are on thousands and thousands of vehicles, so obviously they do work, but I mean, damn, that just seems, God, not safe. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it just gives me the creeps. But I've seen a lot of people do it this way, and they'll just throw a nut on the bottom, and like, I cannot fathom how that would be a problem. Or you can do what I did, and I just lopped this off about the length of my thumbnail. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. You know, or if I can find a nut and a bolt that will fit through the hole, I will do it this way. I do have these, but regardless, whichever way you choose is gonna work fine. So at your own discretion. So it just so happens that I have found some washers and some nuts that actually fit these bolts already. So yeah, I can officially throw these in the trash. Now the driver's side of the truck is just gonna stay the way that it is as far as the mounting system is concerned. But if for whatever reason I gotta get in there and take anything off one day, then I will just be implementing this same exact system. I've got some more nuts and bolts and washers laying around all over the place. So that's how I'm going to be installing these, and I think that that's just a smarter way of doing it. For an assembly line manufacturing process, I see why they did it the way they did it, but I feel like this is just safer, period. Next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on getting the top nuts off. So you can come in through the top. There is enough room, but I've already kind of got this started. So I'm just gonna be working on getting these three. If I could turn this the right way, that would be fantastic. I'm just gonna work on getting these three nuts off the top of the strut here. And I will get back with you when I've got all three of these guys off. Upper strut nuts are off. Now we just gotta wiggle the strut out. I figured out it was a little bit easier to kind of pull it out through the top. Yeah, that's just easier in my specific case. Get all this dirt out of this guy. We're gonna go to the back of the truck, and I'm gonna show you guys how to install the Motofab 3-inch spacer for this guy right here. All right. Now we just got to, whoa, it got dark really fast. And I know what you're thinking. Brandon, are you gonna leave this perfectly fine Rancho shock all rusted up and unpainted like this? No, no, you got me there. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, and I'm gonna slap some paint on it. It's not gonna be pretty, but it's gonna be a far sight better than what we see here. But I'll do that on my own time. As far as you guys are concerned, these are the 3 strut nuts that came off the top. Let's see here if I can remember how to open this thing. Attention, spacer thickness and lift amount is not a 1-to-1 ratio. The one thing that kind of threw me off the first time I looked at this spacer was, these are Motofab spacers, right? Where's a Motofab sticker or like an engraving or something? Apparently they just don't have those. It's kind of a bummer. So there's gear for one side, gear for another side. So we should have like 3 of everything, or well, 6 of everything. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Then the rest of this can just go in the box. We'll save that for the other side, of course. Now there's videos of this online. It probably came with some kind of instructions. I'm just going to figure this out real fast. I believe I figured it out. I'm pretty sure this is correct. I mean, I don't understand how this wouldn't be correct. So you take your Allen head bolts here, and I'll get a size for you in a second, and you thread them into the threaded portion of the spacer through the bottom like this. So I'm going to get that done, then we'll continue. You may be inclined to Loctite these. Probably not the worst idea in the world. Nowhere in the instructions have I seen where it says it needs Loctite, but I mean, to each his own. I don't see any way in hell that these are ever going to come undone. So I'm not going to Loctite them. What size are you, you deadgum behemoth? It's this size. It is an 8. And if you don't have one of these, congratulations, you get to spin this forever. So then, all you got to do is take your strut here. This is just a universal fit. It doesn't really matter which way you throw this in here. Oh, I lied. It does matter. Okay, they do have specific spacing. Well, just keep spinning it till they all fit on there. No big deal. Then we're going to throw these guys on here and get them started. These studs right here are the number 8 Allen, and these nylock nuts right here are 11/16. So we're just going to run these down. I'm just going to get in here like this and just make sure they're nice and torqued down. All right, good. Those are in. And I can go ahead and tell you this side's going a lot faster than the other side. So before I do anything else, the instructions don't necessarily say this, but there's something very, very important that you have to do. So whenever you install this spacer, obviously, it's going to change the orientation of the shock. So the instructions say that you have to turn the shock 180 degrees to go back in, which makes sense. You're changing this kind of triangle shape. You're reversing it because of the spacer. That's just how it has to, that's how it has to be. Once you throw this in there, the geometry between the lower mount and the lower control arm changes. So what you have to do is you need to stick this in a vise and twist it. Let's see, if you're looking at the truck this way, and then you take it this way, and then chuck it in a vise, you need to turn this counterclockwise. This is hard if you don't go ahead and do this. This is one of the best things you can do to just help yourself out a little bit. And I mean, if you don't have a vise, then God bless you. So then you just want to take this guy and just start spinning it. And you can see that this bushing will rotate on the inside, but it takes some doing, so just be patient. You can see now it's kind of rotated a little bit. It didn't go far. It probably won't, but trust me, anything you can get done to it will help a ton. So now's the time when I'm going to be just throwing some paint on these rusted spots. Like I said, I mean, you don't have to do this, or you could do a better job than what I'm about to do. Whatever you want to do. It doesn't really matter what you think as far as my stuff is concerned, because by the time you're watching this, this is already done. Okay, now while the shock is going to sit out there and dry just for a little bit, we're going to be removing the factory upper control arm and slotting in our Cognito unit. The nut and bolt for the alignment, they are both 21s. So I suggest getting yourself a 21 socket and then getting yourself a 21 wrench. This is something very important that you need to keep in mind. You do not need to spin these two inside bolts. The head of the bolt inside the perch here, do not spin those. Only get the nut off. If you try and break the bolts loose or the nut loose with each other, then you can end up snapping the cams that work with the alignment. Another thing that you can do is you can take yourself a scribe and just scribe a line on each side where the alignment is supposed to be, and that'll help you get it pretty close back in place. You can also take like a silver Sharpie and just kind of leave yourself a couple little marks. I find that, you know, that can work, but I usually end up wiping them off with WD-40 or whatever. All right, you want to be mean? I can be mean too. Okay, now we can hit it with the time saver. Golly. Didn't have to worry about that alignment coming undone. Yeah, you probably definitely should put some kind of penetrating oil on this stuff. So what I would do now if I were you is I would just kind of slide these nuts just a few threads back on. Then take your light hammer and just kind of give it a few little love taps. Nothing crazy. Just like that. We're going to do that to both sides and we're going to get this thing pulled out. I'm just going to leave everything exactly the way it came out. And I'm going to soak all that in lubricating oil and then jerk. Very pleased with that. Just right outside the door here. Passenger side, driver's side. Just kind of soak everything down. Get those threads nice and relaxed. This is like a spa day. I'm gonna take a wire brush to all that here in a little bit. So the next things the instructions tell you to do is to chop off the bump stop. And that's in the stapled instructions here. Instruction number 5. The service perch that is welded to the front upper control arm pocket must be cut out to allow room for the Cognito upper control arm, blah, blah, blah. So get out your Sawzall or your grinder and your safety glasses and let's go to town. Now that that's cleaned up pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and throw in the new upper control arm and we're going to see how she looks. A little bit of grease never hurt anything. Getting these installed, they go in pretty well though. Perfect. We can get everything slotted back into place. Our scribe line is still there, so we can get this thing, like I said, pretty close. It's not going to be dead on. Got this side, we can slot right in. Golly, the sun is hot today. These suckers got warm just sitting out there for the short time that they were out there. All right, I'm going to clean up a little bit so that way I'm not getting grease and whatnot on my brand new upper control arm. This is starting to get exciting. We're at the point where we're going to be installing stuff now and tightening things back up, no longer having to loosen anything or nothing like that. Always fun to get to this point. Got that side pretty tight. And the alignment guys will have to deal with this. Pretty tight. All right, guys, so now that we've made it to this step, next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be throwing in the shock assembly with the brand new Motofab spacer on it. The paint should be relatively dry. I'm not super worried about it. If I touch it, I touch it. No big deal. All right, guys, so now I have moved the jack stand that was holding the knuckle assembly out of the way. Definitely don't want it to sit like this for long, but it's just kind of what you got to do to get enough articulation. So we're gonna slot the lower portion down first and we're gonna get it lined up. Always, always, always helps to have a buddy in times like these, but sometimes you just gotta work with what you got. And right now, all I got is me. Boom, there we go. And the top just kind of went into place right there for us. That's awesome. So I'm going to get the bottom nuts and bolts started. That seems to be the easiest thing to do. And I'm really excited that we're not having to use those lame clips that comes on these trucks from the factory. Like I truly am stoked about that. It's gonna make life so much easier for us, I guarantee. Just lay these down here. And yeah, we're gonna have to kind of manipulate this a little bit until they kind of just fall into their homes. Boom, look at that. I'm very excited about this. I wish I would have done all this to the other side. I may go back and do it one day. Not worried about it at the moment. We are nearly home free. I'm going to begin to start threading on the original nuts here. One thing that I can complain about is that the aftermarket studs that come up through the spacers, they're not long enough for you to get your wiring put back in place. So maybe a couple of zip ties up there for that. A little disappointing, but I suppose it could be worse. But we're gonna get them zip tied out of the way, and they should be okay, I hope. I gotta get my other jack over here, and we're going to jack up on the bottom of the knuckle to compress the rest of the system. Okay, so now we have to just move the knuckle up, move the control arm down, and we'll get this stuff installed. Sometimes in the instructions it says that you have to drill out the knuckle here with a 1/2 inch bit. I don't have it here to show you guys, but I don't have to do that. My upper control arms were made of aluminum, and so I think that it's like a 1-to-1 thing. So mine actually seat down all the way, and I can get ample thread on there, so it's not a problem for me. If it is an issue for you, just get yourself a drill bit and follow the instructions, and you'll get sorted. There we go. I had to seat the CV shaft back inside. There we go. So now, one of the big reasons I went with Cognito is, check this out. This is so cool. It comes with this, you know, these washers and nuts and screws from the factory, or it comes from them. And this kit is absolutely perfect for this truck, because look at that. You can use the factory location and tie down your brake line and your cabling for your what you call it, I lost my train of thought there, ABS. Yeah, so it's really, really nice of them to just, you know, kind of think of the customer, like, what, how can we make their lives as easy as possible? And I really appreciate that. Shove this back in place, and then throw a zip tie on here. They send some zip ties in with the kit. Normally they can go like that, but I feel like if the system were to compress anymore, actually, I mean, that seems to be working okay. You can probably just leave it like that. The other side didn't seem to work this well, but I didn't have it set up the same way. It's set up differently than this, which is why I got to go back and fix it. Next to, are we done? We got to torque some stuff up, but I think we're almost done. Let's get the tie rod back in place. Turn the knuckle in. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. I can't remember what size this castle nut is. I think it's a 22. Yeah, it's a 22. So, I don't know, and you guys may have a better idea, but I don't have a clue on how you're supposed to torque this down. I can't get a torque wrench in here on this. I'm sure there's probably like a special tool out there that makes it super duper easy to get this thing torqued in, but I'm not going to be able to torque this thing down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this thing good and tight, and I'm going to get the cotter pin lined up, and I'm going to get it shoved through, and then I'm going to grease it, and I'm going to call it good. So I feel like I have a decent idea on what 50 foot-pounds feels like. It's the same torque spec for the RSX on its lower ball joint, so I feel like I can get it close. It's not going to be perfect by any stretch, but I think it's going to be Just about good enough, I hope. All right, I feel like that's good enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this jack down, and the suspension should, actually, you know what? No, I'm not, because I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grease this guy up, and I'm gonna get him reinstalled really fast. Just lubing this up will help the rust cease, help keep it from getting seized up in there. It'll just help it in so many ways. I'm not gonna put it on, I'll put a dab on the thread, but just that much. Just, I mean, you don't have to go crazy with it, but just helping it out, you know. So this will come up through here, then this will go on just like that. I think we actually do have to let down this jack for this to work. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. It was not this easy on the other side. Where's the other? There it is. So then this goes on like this. This can drop down. This will go up. This will go on here. Yeah, it did not go this easy on the other side, must say. This makes a lot more sense now. Well, and through my own customization too, like with the lower control arm shock mount bolts. I mean, if I had to make a recommendation that, you know, the instructions possibly didn't cover, I would definitely do that. It feels safer, it feels more solid. I like it better like that. All right, now I'm gonna just look under here real quick, make sure we can get this cotter pin in the hole. Oh, that's the ticket right there. All right, not my cleanest cotter pin install ever, but it's not coming out. Ball joint, torqued, cotter pin in. This torqued. I got a torque. Okay, the lower shock mount is torqued. Those are torqued. Didn't touch the lower ball joint. Those are tight as can be. Once again, alignment guys have to deal with that. So I need to torque the sway bar and the tie rod in. As far as the tie rod end is concerned, I found the easiest way to tighten that. Yeah, just get yourself a 21. That might be enough to tighten it with an impact. We'll see. Stand by. Nope. Okay, so this is what you do. Get yourself a 10, throw it on your impact, grab your 21, put it on the nut, and then put a 10 on the bottom here and tighten that. Let's check everything one more time. Top of the strut nuts are torqued. Upper control arm alignment bolts are torqued. Ball joints torqued. Ball joint bolts are torqued. Tie rod end is torqued. Lower strut mount torqued. This side is done, and it only took me maybe an hour and a half, whereas the other side took me about a day and a half. Incredible. So guys, that's gonna be it for this video. I think this is probably just gonna be like a part one thing. I'm gonna film doing the back here in a little bit. I'm gonna get the other side straight, so that way the truck is 100% drivable again before I do the rear. With that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm very, very pleased with how this went now that I knew what I was doing. I hope I gave you guys some information that I was trying to look for. Also, look out for the front differential spacer installation I'm going to be doing. That's going to be in a different video, either before or after this one. So, but anyway, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. Check out all my other videos. Subscribe if you haven't. Like it if it helped you. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.